What's up, everybody? It's been a week. Might as well come back on here and chat with you guys. I'll start off by saying thank you to I don't know how many it is, 500 or so people who have sent me DMs in the last 2 weeks, just checking in on me. It's interesting to hear about how people's daily routines are kind of interrupted by not having this bonehead here and my pal Andrew chatting in your ear, whether it's while you were working out or running on the treadmill or driving a big rig across the country, farming. I mean, so many things we got. Some people still just listen to me while they take a dump. It's kind of the way it is, I guess. Really, really thankful for every single one of those messages. Um, you know, you never really know who's on the other end of your voice. Sometimes you just talk, and especially, me and Andrew who are coming on here every day, you just kind of, fall into a routine and you chat and you go out and you talk. You never know who's on the other end of it. Um, well, I know who's on the other end now. I got some fun messages like, "How could you do this to me? Like, what am I supposed to listen to now? What am I gonna do?" A couple people told me this is what they listen to when they fall asleep. It's the same as going out to a bar, I guess, and chatting with friends and talking sports. So yeah, so I don't want to say I felt bad, but I felt bad. I really did. So I'm back and we'll chat. We'll get into kind of, the hiatus. I haven't done an episode in almost a week with Black Jaded Wolf. I'm sure we will be back with that probably next week. And we'll fall into a routine with those as well. And anybody else who wants to do a show, reach out to me. I've had quite a few of those as well. I guess we can just start off by saying what's going to be different. Nothing. It's going to be hobby talk. It's going to be a lot of fun. How about a name? Let's call it The Hobby with Cage. That'll change, but I think for the most part, everything else will be the same. I may have to take a break and drink out of a 2-liter bottle. For those of you on audio, that's the sound of me taking a swig off of a Coke Zero 2-liter. Still looking for that sponsorship, I got to tell you. Anyway, guys, we'll jump right into it. I mean, we're talking hobby. We're talking some fun stuff. I miss chatting with my friend Andrew. But who knows? Mike and the Mad Dog had a nice run as a team. They went on and they did their own solo stuff. And I'm pretty sure recently they had a reunion. So, maybe that'll be in the cards. You never know. We're going to chat hobby. I'll try to keep this one short just because it's my first one. I'm going to bring some guests on. We're going to talk, you name it. But, as far as hobby stuff goes, try to give you guys a couple topics, try to give you some fun stuff to, to chat about. I'll spend at least a half an hour now going over Jeff Wilson's theory about Disney Lorcana being better than Pokemon and recapping his debate with Laura Don Diego. No, I won't spend a half an hour on that. Although I got to tell you, I got a lot of messages about that. So people are definitely interested. And I do understand, the take, right? Here in the US, Disney is huge and the characters of Disney are huge. Pokemon as a global brand, however, is amazing. And I got a very good DM from somebody who sent me over, in response to, I posted it on my story. And this is a good one for folks. And, it's something that I think Jeff might be missing. And it's things that have long-term collectability. Somebody DM'd me usually don't start off that way. And what makes the Pokemon cards collectible is that they didn't start off as something that someone bought to hoard, bought to flip, bought as an investment. People were buying them because it was a game that they were playing and it turned into a collectible. It has nostalgia built up. Those first years of the cards, people weren't buying them and saying, I'm going to put this in a sleeve. I'm going to hermetically seal this. I'm going to take this now and throw it in a slab. I'm going to have it graded and it's going to be locked away forever, like they do even with current Pokemon cards. And while Lorcana is supposed to be a game, and it is supposed to be sort of, a TCG type of game, it's clear that, given the state of collecting now, given the state of the hobby now and cards now, I would feel comfortable saying that a large majority of people who are going to purchase the Disney cards when they come out are purchasing them with an eye towards investing in them, not actually playing the game. Sure, there will be people who play the game. Sure, there will be, parents who buy them for their kids and people who, who play the game. But whereas Pokemon in the 90s, 90% of people, if not more, bought the packs to play the games, build a deck and battle. I think 90% of people who are buying them now are going to be buying them looking for a hit, looking for a rare card, looking to grade it, maybe looking to sell it. And that is a big difference. This comment I got, from someone, this DM I got from somebody, even pointed out 1952 tops, saying, people were buying them. They weren't buying them, to take the Mickey Mantle and lock it away forever. I'm sure there were a couple. There have been collectors of cards for a long time, but kids were buying them to flip them. Kids were buying them to, to put in their bicycle spokes and make noise, according to my dad. And then they wound up in the Hudson River. So, they weren't something that, sold out the first day, like I'm sure Disney's Lorcana will. I mean, just take a look at what happened with the promo cards, the ones that came out in their D23 conference last year. So anyway, I said I wasn't going to spend a half hour on it. I don't want to spend a half an hour on it, but it is definitely, worth chatting about. I'm sure that, that's going to make my news update next time around, especially, him debating, which is, it's interesting and it's good. It's good for the hobby, especially in a week where you didn't have my big mouth talking at you. It was good to get a little hobby debate out there and somebody else talking. Although nobody does it as good as I do. So, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. You guys can debate all you want. You're not me. So anyway, it's fun stuff. So, but right now that debate, that's the leader in the clubhouse on my weekly news update. I hope you guys enjoy that. Check it out if you haven't. I've done 4 of them already. It's amazing how time flies when you're having fun. That's what they used to say, right? 4 news updates. And Blez, if you're listening, I miss you, man. I mean, there hasn't been like a hot yoga or dance session or anything weird on your page. I had Backer kicking and throwing boxes around like a lunatic with his dynasty breaks in my most recent one. But take a look at that. People seem to really like it. I enjoy doing it. And what's funny, Steve Lacy, one of the guests that we had on the, Fox 5 here, a news host, a news anchor. We had him on, one of our shows. When he likes your hobby news update, you're doing something right. It's pretty funny to see a news anchor, comment and like your version of the news. So if you haven't checked that one out, check it out. So yeah, I mean, cards, where I would go next on this fun one. And I don't want to get too bogged down into the sports because, one of the things Andrew and I did, we kind of, went away from cards and got into the sport aspect of it, whether it was from a betting perspective or who knows. We kind of, got into, is Giannis great? Is Giannis not great? Is, who's the next great guy? Who's the GOAT? Is LeBron somebody making their, team better? And often didn't tie it back to cards, didn't tie it back to the hobby. And I'm going to try to do better at that, when we do talk about sports. Obviously, it's, baseball has started up, basketball playoffs, hockey playoffs. I mean, talk about like, neighbors, the Devils are playing the Rangers, I think, right? It's New York, New Jersey over here. And it's getting a little nuts. I think the Islanders are playing too. I mean, it's, you name it. We're going to see what winds up happening here in the hockey playoffs, but I'm not educated enough in hockey to even talk about that. We'll bring some guests on for hockey, but basketball playoffs are a fun time. They take a long time. We've had a crazy beginning to this with injuries and ejections and suspensions already, all in the first couple of games of the first round. But tying it into cards, I mean, we start off with Luka. I mean, if you're holding Luka, you should be a little nervous. He didn't even make the playoffs, and that's probably not a good thing because I'm sure there's plenty of money invested in Luka. So that's an interesting thing. And as far as making the playoffs, I mean, there are a lot of folks who have, heavy investment in them that I would be a little nervous about. They made the play-in, but didn't make the playoffs. Zion, I'd be nervous about. I mean, the guy has missed way more time than he has played. And then now for the guys who are in the playoffs, I mean, Trae Young, Trae Young's an interesting guy to talk about. I know there are people out there who have a lot of money invested in Trae Young. What you notice is in the NBA, the playoffs get a little more physical, right? The refs will let you play a little bit more. And I'm not talking about stomping on somebody's chest because they won't let you do that. I'm talking about, they'll let you get a little more physical when you're guarding. They'll let a little more, action happen, and that winds up favoring the bigs. It winds up favoring the wing players. It winds up, for the most part, I believe, hurting your smaller guard play. And that seems to be what happens with Trae. And it's why he has had such an abysmal record in the playoffs. And that team doesn't really appear to be getting better. I expect an early, first round exit again. And we've already seen Trae's cards start to, come down. I'd be a little nervous about those cards as well. And on the, the potential sell side, like continuing to come down, I mean, you want to talk about how the mighty have fallen. Ja, right? I mean, Ja was last year's, success story. We were talking about him as a potential MVP candidate till the end of the year. But I don't know if people remember this, but he was injured. He was hurt for last year's playoffs also. And now he's hurt again for the playoffs. And I don't know whether he's going to miss significant time or even any time. But, the Lakers team is playing well, and we'll get to those guys in a second. Is Ja somebody that, you can have continued concern about? You already saw his card prices take a little bit of a hit with the whole off-court drama. And that's a tale that still has to be played out in the offseason, I'll bet. But add to that, I mean, what if that team, with all of the success they had in the regular season, has a first-round exit? Even if they don't, I don't anticipate them going much further than that. But the Lakers matchup, even with Ja, it's a bad matchup for them. I mean, Anthony Davis has found something in his last month or so. He's dominant on the inside. And, what you can add to that is they don't have their bigs there. Sure, they have Jaren Jackson Jr., and he's fantastic, but no Steven Adams. And Davis is really, in the paint, and in that, mid-range, he's really had his way there with that team. And playing through a little injury there. It looked like he was going to go out. He couldn't feel his arm. So the other side of that coin, actually, you start thinking about, what people are paying for Zion, Ja, Trae, Luka, these young guys. Someone who really fell out of favor, and this will start to maybe swing the pendulum here into the other side of the equation of like people who, may be those counter plays, right? The contrarian plays that I like to give. Anthony Davis's cards have been beaten down like crazy. I mean, he was so high. He got traded to the Lakers and they won the bubble championship and he won a ring. I'm not saying the Lakers win a championship this year. Not at all, right? Although, they have a shot. This is the Memphis Grizzlies, that's a good matchup for them. There are significantly worse matchups for them, as they advance. But Anthony Davis now is going to have some playoff success. He's going to look good. They have some depth around them. Have his cards been beaten down so much that, maybe you take a flyer on him, and who knows, maybe he's not on the Lakers after this. Maybe he gets paired up with a Luka. Who knows? You never really know what's going to wind up happening there. And I put in that same category, but maybe a step higher. Westbrook, Harden. I mean, these are guys who are MVP players, guys who've already won. Can their card value take a move up? The Clippers are playing the Suns. I got to tell you, I think that series could go 7. I think the Clippers have much more depth. Obviously, the Suns, we talked about this, they traded away almost all of their depth. Their starters had 110 points last night, the Suns. I think their big three there, the starters had more points than the entire team for the Clippers, including their bench, which just doesn't happen. But I know, Kawhi, Westbrook, Harden, these are guys who have done it. Kawhi's got championships, got, finals MVPs. Do you take a flyer on one of those guys? And Harden on the other side, right? I mean, if Philly with Giannis hurt, right? Boston, they're playing Atlanta. I think I would look good playing against Atlanta. What if Philly wins? obviously that helps Embiid. He's already had his MVP season here, but does that put Harden in a new category now as an MVP with a ring? There's a lot of fun stuff that goes in there, and I mean, you might want to take a little bit of a flyer. A couple of other folks, Tatum. To me, I mean, I guess I can give you my own take. I'm not an investor or a buyer in Tatum. He looks like he can make every shot. He looks like he's a real talent. He's always been that one step below the elite. Looked like at the beginning of the year he was in the MVP conversation. I kind of fell out of that. He still looks like the guy who doesn't want to take that last shot. To me, Jaylen Brown seems to still want that last shot. Now, Tatum is significantly better than Brown. We had that argument 2 years ago. Can they play together? They clearly can play together. Tatum is clearly the alpha there. He's clearly the guy. But I don't know. There's something about it that last minute, that clutch time. I think Jaylen Brown is the guy they go to, or the guy who wants it. And the last one on the playoff stuff, the Suns. Glad to see them get the win. All right, glad to see them get the win. I think it's a real tough matchup. The Clippers handled them, and the Suns can't really put the Clippers away. The Clippers were up by, I think, 11 or 12 at one point in game 2 in the first half. Heck of a run to close it out by the Suns. But even in the fourth quarter, the Clippers made it a game. It was single digits. I think it got down to 6 or 7. And those are the games in Phoenix. LA goes out, and wins the next game at home. It's tough, but the Suns, it would mean a lot, I think, for Durant to win another one, right? Not with the team that had already won 72 games the year before, right? 73 games the year before. And, maybe even more so, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, those guys win. That's huge, right? That puts you in a different conversation, especially Chris Paul, who's a Hall of Famer, point God, as they like to call him. I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it's really the three of them. I'm not impressed by Ayton at all. I mean, I know you got the big four there. They're going to be asked to do too much for a long playoffs with no real depth. And to be honest, I don't even know if they get past this first round. But it's interesting, though, because you have to kind of, we talk about buying the offseason and then sell beforehand. Right now, I'd be buying NFL quarterbacks to sell at the National. Seriously. No real risk there, I don't think, but not as much upside. I wonder whether or not there is a play to be made here, but it's more sort of gambling. You still don't know who's going to win. There's been a lot of parity in the NBA during the year. I like watching playoff basketball. There's nothing like it. You watch the Lakers Grizzlies is a great series. The Suns Clippers is going to be a great series. I mean, there's a bunch of really good series, and then even next round is going to get even better. So interesting stuff. I'll throw a little fun little nugget in there you guys probably didn't see, just because it's me. I'll throw it in my news next week also. But NFTs, I got to talk about those. I'm just kidding. A Panini digital card, LeBron 1 of 1, sold for $33,000 this week. That's pretty crazy. You don't really hear too much about the digital stuff selling, but a Panini digital card of LeBron 1 of 1 sold for $33,000 this week. You just throw that out there. I'm not saying go out and run and buy, NFTs, but obviously there are people who still believe in it and are paying significant amount of money. I don't think that there is a current year card, actual physical card of LeBron that sold for that. I saw recently the Prism Black 1 of 1, the 2012 throwback from Prism sold for like $16,000, for half of the price of this digital card on eBay. So just throw that out there as a little interlude. And I mean, we've got that. I mean, I added in my news. How about Adam Sandler showing up at the East Coast National at Hofstra? That's a fun one, right? I mean, you don't see that kind of stuff too often. We've seen obviously Fanatics show up at shows, and Michael Rubin show up at card shows. And we've seen other people, sports, you name it, going in, and sponsors and the like. But talk about this month here. End of April, I think it's April 28th, Ken Golden's show. I think it's called The Golden Touch, starring, the headliner, Alex Jaimo, and, below her is Ken Golden and Dave Ammerman and those guys. She's the lead in that show. I'm gonna get a DM from Ken. I'm just messing with you guys. There's no lead, but they're all in it. That's kind of cool, I mean, it looks like it's like a Pawn Stars type of show, and it looks favorable. We'll see how it goes. I saw the trailer. Obviously, I'll be watching it. Hopefully, they paint the hobby in a good light. But you layer onto that, it looks like a Netflix movie is going to be made by, by Adam Sandler, and he shows up. You just, like people are walking around the show, and boom, you turn around, and there's Adam Sandler coming in with his puffy green jacket, talking to people about cards. I think he was in the back room for a little while where they were doing the auto signings, and it's fun stuff. I mean, anything that shines a light on what we do here is probably favorable. Probably will bring more people in, just like we say Fanatics is going to come out and and add people's eyeballs to to the hobby. I mean, an Adam Sandler movie can't hurt either. So that was a fun one to see. You know, can't wait to see what kind of movie it is. I mean, I'm gonna admit to something here, guys. You guys know I love movies. I'm gonna take a big swig here because I can't believe you guys are gonna be like, what? I watched Uncut Gems for the first time the night before Sandler showed up at the show. My wife and I had just never watched it. And, gambling's an interesting topic, guys. It's something that hits near and dear to my heart. It's something that I have a lot of friends, close friends, and people I know who kind of get bogged down in gambling. They've had gambling problems. I've had to bail people out of gambling situations in my life. And I try to stay away from it. I haven't done it myself in decades, barring a Super Bowl box pool or an NCAA tournament filling out, something like that. Penny slots here and there. Come on. You know what I mean? When in Vegas, you do that. You play the cash NATO and you lose your shirt. I can't say I don't gamble. Corey from Show You Slabs watched me put money in a penny machine in a cash NATO in Vegas. He'll call me out on it. But the point here is, I know that life. I know people who have had issues with bookies. I know people who have gambled and, they say bet with your head, not over it. I know people who have bet way over their head. And it's not a lifestyle that I wish on anyone. So I've kind of stayed away from that movie because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't watch any previews. No one told me kind of like the end or anything like that, but I knew it was a stressful ride. Let me tell you something. It was a good movie. My wife enjoyed it. I liked it. I hated how it ended, but I knew how it was going to end about 15 minutes into the movie, because that's kind of how it ends. And like I said, it hits near and dear to my heart. If there's anybody out there listening to this now who has a gambling problem and wants to chat about it and doesn't want to call, 1-800-GAMBLER or anything like that, send me a DM. We can talk about it. I'd love to help you through it if it's something that you're dealing with yourself. But great movie. And, I think the Safdie brothers, the same folks who work with Sandler on that, are going to be doing this movie. I hope it's not as dark. I hope we're not dealing with that type of thing. I hope we don't have, the underbelly of the hobby coming out in the next Adam Sandler Netflix movie. And, I can't envision a situation where somebody suffers the same fate that Sandler suffered in Uncut Gems at the end of a hobby story, but I guess, that would be interesting. So you get that. I mean, loads of fun there. And I mean, let's throw one more thing out there for you guys, and I'll take it home on this. We'll keep it short and sweet. For our first episode of The Hobby with Cage. I record this for the first time since 2020 without a sponsor. We've had, great partners, great folks who were able to bring, free content to you guys. Over 1,000 episodes on Luca Nation, well over 1 million downloads across the platforms. Shows with partners like Black Jaded Wolf and Cajun Cardboard. DPZ did the Collector Series. We had a ton of guests on. You guys know them all. And I imagine that we're going to also, continue to bring guests on this show as well. And if you want to come on, please send me a DM. We'll get you on. So, but always with a partner, always with a business since 2020. It's been almost 3 years. And this is the first episode I've been done in a while without, having somebody as a pre-roll, a post-roll, talking about an auction or whatever it is. And what I'll say about that is this: if I had 12 sponsors, and I do have 12 people already have messaged me offering sponsors, and I have not signed on with any of them yet, but even if I had 12 sponsors, the episode would be exactly the same. And I hope you guys agree with that. And if you don't, you gotta DM me. And I'm not talking about you, Ziggy. I know you're going to DM me and tell me I shouldn't have any sponsors. And I know that's kind of the way you choose to go. What I'm going to tell you is I don't care who sponsors. You get the truth from me. You don't get a slant. You don't get a shill. And one of the best parts about working with brands is I tell them how I feel. Sometimes they don't like that, and I'm not just talking about on the show. I'm talking about behind the scenes. I do have, it's almost like consulting as part of being a brand ambassador with these folks, and I'm only able to do that because of the community that's out there listening to this and watching this right now. You guys, you know, Beckett was a partner and may very well be a partner again. You guys reached out and said a million things to me, and they're going to take it all into account. And I know they're having focus groups that they're meeting with, and I know they've filled out surveys, and hopefully you guys filled out surveys. And it's just one example, but I've gotten great ideas from you, the audience, the consumers, the collectors, the people who use platforms, the people who use auction houses. And I believe that I am able to bring your suggestions, your feedback, your critiques, your compliments to the partners that we have with the podcast. I think that actually works better. Um, so anyway, I say that just because it's a unique situation that I haven't found myself in. And I'll say this, and I'll say it again if I have 15 sponsors. I really like where the hobby is. From Adam Sandler to the cool lives that we get, the people who are making content, I mean, from the crossover, your card ladder guys. I love the Friday night content. Missed it last week. I love being just in the chat, making jokes, trying to get Chris Hoge to laugh, from my stupid comments in the chat. Sometimes I get them, to P. Ryan. I mean, just great educational stuff. I think the hobby's in a good spot. Even the craziness with Panini and Fanatics, it will play out, and I think we will end up in a spot that puts the hobby in better hands. I'm optimistic about it, and mostly it's from being at shows, it's from being online, it's from talking to people on Instagram and in person. Um, the Mint Collective, there are people there who set up for the first time ever and had a great time. There are people there who have set up at shows for decades and had a great time. I went to the Hofstra show again. People set up for the first time and had a blast, made some money, sold some cards, gave away stuff to kids. They're optimistic about it. They're excited. Looking at the line to get in. On Saturday morning for Hofstra, I waited for almost a half an hour to get into the show. It hasn't been like that in a long time. I have a picture. I could post it. That, to me, that's a bullish signal if we're able to use those kind of market terms. The fact that there's so many people still in this. And let's talk about the competition, right? Golden and PWCC and Heritage and REA and every other auction house, My Slabs, ComC, eBay with Probstein, they're all making each other they all make each other better, right? If something works for one, the others are going to incorporate it. Look at how PWCC allowed extended bidding. You could bid in extended bidding, even if you hadn't bid before. I'm pretty sure Golden just announced that they're going to do the same thing. If it's something that one of the companies tries and has some success and the community and the consumers like it, the others will use it as well. That's a good part of the hobby. People are trying stuff and it winds up making it better for all of the consumers. Same thing's going to happen with the cards that are out there, right? I mean, Fanatics goes out and does their MLB debut patch, and look, Panini partners up with Monopoly, Hasbro, right? Some people seem to like it. I would say I've seen a lot of that product. I'd be a little careful with it. The prices that are coming out seem a little bit high for singles. I don't know that they're going to stay anywhere near that kind of pricing. So, kids running outside. I will play basketball. Sorry about the noise in the background. But yeah, we've covered a lot here. We've covered everything from, the state of the hobby, you name it. But I wanted to end here with, some optimism. I don't know what kind of cadence I'm going to have going forward. You will hear from me at least twice a week, at least one episode of just me doing, a chat with you here. And then also we'll have Black Jaded Wolf. I will have guest episodes. I'm used to doing this every day, guys. So, I mean, I just wanted to come on and chat. I wasn't planning to release an episode today, but Why the heck not? I'm sitting outside and I said, you know what? It's been too long. I haven't chat with you know, with our community in a long time. I'm getting a lot of DMs and people ask me what I'm gonna do. This is it. We're back. I got my 2-liter bottle. We're gonna chat about the hobby. We're gonna have some guests. You want to send me a DM? You want to put it in the comments who you think would be a good guest? Let's have them on. We have a long list of people who've already reached out who want to be on the show, but I'd love to hear what you guys, who you want to see on the show. And that's it. There's the first episode of The Hobby with Cage. I hope you enjoyed it. Also, guys, I've done a bunch of these where I spend 30 minutes to an hour just kind of talking myself. Usually it's, PWCC episode where we're talking about cards and, the cards that are out there and stuff. I enjoyed this. I hope you did. I did not have, an Andrew to kind of bounce stuff off of and to argue with and fight with. If it makes you feel better, I can start fighting with myself. I can do schizophrenia. That's not a problem. I can definitely do it. I can have an argument with myself. I do in my brain. I don't know how it's going to sound if I do it out loud now, but seriously, let me know if this is, a format that works for you guys. It works for me. I get to chat about the cards. I get to chat about, the shows that I was at, the issues that I'm seeing, the fun stuff that's out there. And, I get to do a podcast. And that really is all I want to do. Somebody messaged me the other day and said, do you know what you're doing now? And I said, no. And then they asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, I kind of just want to talk about cards. So this lets me do that. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.